This is a story of stories. Story of a life and of adventures of my father that were ultimately kept hidden from me until I was old enough to realize an entire section of his life has been omitted from my understanding. My name is Sophie Slesser, and this is the story of me figuring out my father's secret life. So let's go. So, started in 1960, August 31st, my father was born in Winnipeg, Manitoba. He has 3 older brothers and 1 younger sister to be born 7 years later. He's kind of born in he's born in a normal family, lower income. The whole, church on Sundays, they play hockey in the winter on an outdoor rink. Very, very homegrown experience. He was a paper boy, that kind of thing. And he did okay in high school, and then when he turns 18 in August again in 1978, that's where he kind of drops off the map for me. So from 78 till about 1998, when I know that they were in Jordan, because I was born in 1999 in Jordan, for about 20 years. I know things that happened, I don't know the full picture. I know little segments, and I don't know exactly when those segments happened. So I guess that's my whole aim of this, is to put the rest of, the big chunk of my father's life that I don't understand. I want to put it together. I do kind of want to leave for university next year, having a better idea as to what my father has experienced and to how all of the crazy skills and odd talents that he has have emerged. And I mean, when I was younger, he was always full of energy and always full of stories. I mean, he still is. But it was like, no matter what the situation was, he seemed to always know the correct story to tell. It's just no matter where he was or what he was doing, he always seemed to know the right stories. And he always seemed to have constant flows of stories, and I thought that it would be cool to do a story about his stories.
I have a 3:15 appointment for a root canal. It's just kind of a bit intimidating and a bit flattering. 1978. A week in 1978, I received 2 things in the mail. The same week, it was crazy. One of them was acceptance to what was then called the Banff School of Fine Arts, something like that. And I had on a whim applied to them for their sculpting program. I used to carve out a soapstone. Some of those were pipes, but anyway, that was for friends. That was for friends. The same week, I also got acceptance to Canada World Youth. And they said, hey, we'll pay you $1 a day. We'll send you to the Maritimes and work on a farm, and then we're going to send you to the Philippines. You can work on a farm there. And I went, $1 a day, and I threw the other one. And that's why I'm a diplomat. And I left on Canada World Youth. I was
getting on a plane.
I was 18. I just turned 18. We went to a place called Camp Tidnish, which is like a summer camp, and we do all kinds of team building stuff there. We play music. We figure each other out, all the rest of it. Let me just tell you what that felt like. I was from a rough end of Winnipeg. I had, just finished high school.
Yep.
And almost all of these people had done 1 or 2 years of university. I was so intimidated. It almost made me speechless, There was an entertainment evening where people played, and I played. And of all things, I played a classical song. I blew it in the middle, and I said this out loud, right? Which made me even more of a kind of vulgar, from the bad end of the city kind of guy. But I finished the tune. It was just so clear that I was the youngest. I felt like I was the dumbest. I'm in this place where these people are from the whole part of the world. Even in my world of Winnipeg, I would never have met these people in Winnipeg. And then we moved from there to our field placements. So for me, we were all billeted with families in rural Nova Scotia. And I was billeted with a guy who's a dairy farmer. And he had, 80 to 90 head. And I'd been on dairy farms when we were kids, because my parents come from farms, and we used to go out there on the weekends all the time. And it wasn't, the work and kind of the stuff wasn't that foreign to me. And I'd worked on the railway in the summers, and I knew how to work hard. And this farmer loved that. And when he found out that I knew how to swing a sledgehammer, that driving a tractor was not beyond my skill set, all that, he was very excited. He's pulling a tractor with a flatbed, and I was smacking in fence posts. Put him in the hole, smack, smack. But I did this all day long, right? But then we go to the Philippines. And of course, never been out of the country. Many of these other kids had traveled internationally, and I was like, man, bro. So off we go to the Philippines, and we go to the north of the Philippines to the Cagayan Valley, and we stay in a place called Apari. And at the time, there was an insurgency going on. A group called the New People's Army was revolting against the Marcos regime. So we landed in this place. Now remember, this is no internet, no phone, no mobile phones, nothing. And we discover, holy shit, there's terrorists that are killing people up here. That was just before Christmas. I'll never forget Christmas Eve. This guy, his name was actually, as I recall, it was Ferdinand, something. When his mother introduced me, I was like, this is, Ferdinand Jesus Medo Tagala Mitara, with every name, because there are like 5 or 6 names. He got smaller and smaller, right? In the end, he said, just call me Johnny. Christmas Eve, he shows up with a bicycle, and he says, come on, we're going to go to a Christmas party. I said, dusk to dawn curfew, I can't go. Said, no, they're the NPA, the New People's Army. They're out there. He said, don't worry, I know them all. And we stop at a tent. It's like there's 3 or 4 picnic tables and kind of a bar, kind of a counter. He says, you want a beer? I said, yeah, sure. So, dos cerveza, right? Right, so 2 beer count. And then suddenly this girl sits on my lap. Whoa, just Filipina. She's got like 2 gold teeth. I look for a washroom, right? And I find out that I just want to be, through this flap to the tent behind us. And I go through that flap and I discover that's not a washroom. That's when I realized the whole place is a brothel. So finished my beer, and then we left. And we left just as the guys at this other table broke out into a fight. One of them pulling up a knife. And I said, holy shit, get me out of here. Because we got on a bike, right? Because I'm just sitting on riding back. And he doesn't go back home. He goes further down the highway. And I'm going, where are you going? Said, oh, we got a Christmas party. We go, and then we leave the highway. And we're down this sort of path, road/path. And we come to a place I can see some lights in the jungle. And I realize we're going towards the river. And he says, yeah, this is the construction guys that are building the bridge are having a Christmas party. So we get there, and there's like construction equipment, front end loader, a crane, a lot of steel piled up, and they're building this footbridge across this river. And this river had killed Johnny's father. And I go in, and there's some lights strung along. There's a generator going off in the jungle. It's giving power to these lights. I look around, and I think, it's great. It's kind of interesting. That guy's got a weapon. That guy's got a weapon, and they're automatic weapons. I'm going, and Johnny's getting full embraces from all these guys. Hey, pare, brother, friend, all stuff. And he's introducing me, and they're looking at me, and then they come, yeah, and then they come on, they give me a hug. I go, holy shit. These guys got bandanas on their forehead. They got jewelry. It's like a 50 caliber a shell of a bullet as a jewelry piece, muscle shirts, all kind of really bulked up. And I'm thinking, oh my God, it's Christmas Eve. I'm here in the jungle, right, with Johnny and a bunch of terrorists. Oh, shit. I'm thinking, so this is where it ends. The music is going to start, he says. And so I kid you not, Sophie, they turn off a little bit of recorded music. And these guys, they look like thugs, right? Remember, muscle shirts, shorts, they're wearing flip-flops, automatic weapons, AK-47s, right? The week before, somebody had gone into, maybe one of these guys had gone into a church and just sprayed the church, killed a whole bunch of people. And then the music starts. And these guys and these women, these people that are there, the workers, the engineers, they all start to sing Christmas carols. And they sing like angels. I've been going to midnight mass all my life as a child. And here I am in this jungle with these characters, and it's the best Christmas caroling I've ever heard. Harmonies are like, silent. You guys got guns. They're like terrorists. Well, we sang for an hour and a half. And I'm sure I had more than a few beer. I remember getting back on the back of that bicycle with Johnny, and I said to myself, the one thing I know that's not going to happen is these guys are not going to kill me while I'm here, because I just became friends with these terrorists. 1978, Christmas.
after his little plunder with Canada World Youth in 1978. Actually, I put up a timeline. So after 78, 79, Canada World Youth, in the summer of 79, he worked at a summer camp in Northern Ontario. And then he ended up, from September to December 1979, in Europe. He traveled to Austria and then worked with a buddy in Austria for a little while, got some money, and then spent that money to travel different places around Europe, including going to Morocco, which is really cool. Early 1980, so in about February, he moved back to Winnipeg, so his hometown, and was working with some handicapped kids. In September 1980, he started at the Red River College to become a draftsman, and he ended the program in 1981, and this was because the government was paying to train draftsmen because they needed them. Summer 1981, he did a French immersion course, which I thought was pretty cool. And then in that September, so September of 1981, he did a year at the University of Winnipeg, and then found out while I was at U Winnipeg that there are certain universities that offer Asian studies, and since he had been to the Philippines through Canada World Youth, he decided that's the program for him, so he went forward and did that, and he transferred to St. Mary's University in Halifax because that was the one he chose. A couple of them did it. He chose St. Mary's because he had been in Halifax before. He did 1 year at SMU from 1982 to 1983, and then from 84 to 85, he was in China on a scholarship, and this is where he met my mother. My mother had been there the year before, but had done so well that they asked her to come back for a second year. And then 85 to 86, he was back in Halifax doing some work. 1986, he moved with my mom to Toronto. Yeah. Then you get to 87. He started a job in the public service. This is when his public service really began. In the student employment centers. He didn't actually really figure this out, but from 1989 or 1988, he just had no idea. He moved from Toronto to Winnipeg, and then 91, he moved to Ottawa. And then in the mid-90s, so 93, 94, 95, he was in China with my mom. While he was in China in the 90s, he was also in Tibet, both Tibet proper, which is now called Tibet, and cultural Tibet, which culturally was Tibetan, but politically Chinese.
So I was in Tibet once, doing some work with Médecins Sans Frontières, a bunch of water projects, 26 I think, that we wanted to do, and all were done except one. We visited a bunch of them and some health stations, and one of them they said couldn't be done. And that was because decades before, from this spring, somebody had consumed some water and died. And so, of course, since then, everybody said it was possessed, there's a spirit there, and it's not good, so they never drank this water. But it was, tested every way possible, and they were shown it's excellent water, it's all good, but they just didn't believe it, because that's not what they believed. And so we just left that. We went on and did some other work, had a crazy night, celebrating this young girl's scholarship to go to a very poor province in China to study, where we drank a lot of Chang, which is a single fermentation Tibetan beer. That was a very crazy evening. Anyway, days later, after I finished with Médecins Sans Frontières, I'm in Lhasa, and I meet with the head of the astrophysics section. I think he's party secretary of the science wing of Tibetan administration. And so I asked him what he did. We met in his apartment. And he said, I'm in charge of everything from the heavens to the earth and, all the things in between. And I predict when earthquakes are coming and all this sort of thing. And he's an interesting guy. I asked him if he had the power to exorcise spirits. He said he did. So I told him about my village problem. He said, oh yeah, I told him where it was and everything, and off I went. So a month and a half or so later, I get a letter from Médecins Sans Frontières telling me that the 26 project was complete because some guy, they said a senior religious representative from Tibetan authority showed up, gathered people together, he exorcised the spirit from that spring, and they put it in the water system. So, an exorcism is what led to the completion of the 26th water project in I think it was Linzhou County, Tibet.
So I decided that it would be a good idea to talk to some other people that know my dad pretty well, and one of those is my mom. So I FaceTimed her from Ottawa because she's in Bangkok, and she told me a couple really cool stories.
Can I tell you how I convinced him to have these skinny striped silk pants made for himself?
No, go ahead.
It's so funny. So we were somewhere, I think in Shanghai or Beijing, and I saw this beautiful kind of stripy material, iridescent. The backdrop was really kind of gold, and there were some stripes in different colors running through it, quite thick stripes. And I said, oh, that's very nice. And there wasn't much left. Is that very nice? And he said, and I meant for me for a skirt. And he said, yeah, I think I'll buy it. He bought it for himself. And I said, oh, good, you should have pants made out of it. And he did. And he just looked like some aging rock star from the 1970s. We organized a whole barbecue for about 60 people. Scott built the barbecue out of bricks that he found in the neighborhood. He got a grate somewhere, he'll remember where. We went to the Muslim restaurant where they had Mongolian hot pot and bought every piece of charcoal they'd sell us. Then in order to get beef, because there were rations in China in those days, and you got so many rations of meat a month, but only the Muslims got beef. Chinese ate pork, and so we had been kind of categorized as Chinese. So Scott decided that for the purposes of getting beef, he was going to inform the school that they'd been wrong all along, that really he was he could not eat pork, that it was against his religion. God, it must have been 30 pounds of beef. And we pulled together this big blowout barbecue in Jinan, the first one I think they'd ever seen.
In addition to talking to my mom, I thought it would be a good idea to get on the phone and call one of my dad's closest friends, of which he's known since he was 18, and see what kind of stories she has to tell.
I remember when he was going to ride his bicycle, and he just got not quite as far. I think he may have got to Thunder Bay, and then he...
From where?
From Winnipeg.
Oh my goodness.
But he was planning, his original plans were to go way farther. I was very excited for him. One of the big things I still have in my Yahoo email, I know who has Yahoo email, but is your dad talking about you when you were just born. And it's a beautiful email. So, I mean, it's very, very touching that we all got to see different things with each other.
After my parents got home from China in the 90s, they spent a few years back in Ottawa, and then my mom got the posting to go to Jordan, and that was in 99. I was born in November 99, so I guess we're all caught up.
Now I get to ask myself, what would have happened if I had never decided to do this? Would I have ever heard these stories or felt as close as I do to my father now? Honestly, probably not. It just goes to show how great sitting down and talking to your parents can be. Sometimes we forget that. This has been a story of stories. A story of a life and adventures of my father that are now part of my own story.
And I know that I have to go.